Hey, Sam here. Thank you for getting Webinar Alpha. We're really excited to have you on board. Now, pay attention for the next couple of minutes because the page you're on is a really important one. You've got Webinar Alpha, which is a great replay system, but how would you like to be able to run live webinars before you send out the replays? Well, that's what we have on offer here today. After creating Webinar Alpha, we got thinking, what if we could create a live webinar system that made it even easier to present live to any group around the web? And that's what you can do. You can use this with any niche, so join me on my computer right now as I show you how you can get access for a limited time to this live webinar platform.
Okay, so let me show you how this works. If we go into Create Webinar, we're able to create our first webinar. We can call this whatever we want, and we can start the webinar as you'd expect with the other, expensive live webinar platforms that are out there. So let's name our webinar. Let's do this as a webinar as if we were promoting, say, a launch. So let's say we're doing the Webinar Alpha launch webinar. We're going to select that we want a recording. We want it to be recorded because it's actually going to present the recording to us after the webinar. We click Save Webinar, and then we're actually taken across to the different templates we have to select. Now, we're adding these in all the time. Right now, you're seeing an earlier version, but when you get access to this, you'll see a few things have changed around. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to choose which template we want. We can choose out of a number of different templates here, as you'll see. So let's just go with the first template that's available here, then click Next. Now we're going to go to the template section where we can actually edit the content of our webinar. We can add a video to our webinar, which is obviously really important to get people ready for the webinar. We can change the registration if we want, the button. We can adjust the text that's here. We can add a title, and we can also add the date of the webinar when it's happening. We can also add a logo in as we want as well. And you can see the different editing components on my right hand side right here. What we're going to do is we'll add in a title, so we'll say Webinar Alpha, and as you can see, it's updating on the webinar platform as I write this. Join us for a special webinar. Okay, so we're able to do that, and we can add media components, we can add text components. If we wanted to edit different parts of this, we're able to do that quite easily and do this on this webinar platform itself right here. So let's go across and then let's add a thank you page URL. What we're going to do on this thank you page URL is we're basically going to go ahead and add in where we want people to be sent to. So it could be a thank you page we've created. It could be webinaralpha.co/thanks or something like that. And then we go to the top and click the next steps because we've filled out all the information on our registration page. Now, you'd want to spend a bit of time to get people ready for the webinar because you want them registering, you want to capture them as a lead, and you're able to do that automatically through the system. Then you want them getting ready for this live webinar. Now, which date are we going to run the webinar? Well, let's run it on the 3rd, and let's run it at 9 p.m. because 9 p.m. is usually quite a good time, EST. All right, 9 p.m. and it's a 24-hour clock, so that'll be around about 21 on this here. Click Done. Now we'll add an organizer's email address, we'll add an organizer's name, we'll add the description. Hey, thanks for coming to this webinar about webinar replays. Then we can add an email sequence prior to our webinar if we want to. So we could write a quick message here and it will be sent out 30 minutes before the time that the webinar starts to get people ready. Join here. The webinar is about to begin. So the system will actually email people. Now we can choose whether this is a paid webinar, if we wanted a paid webinar or not. In this case, it's a free webinar, so I'll leave that as free. Now we click Finish, and our webinar is created. So we can send out a registration link to our leads. All right, this is our registration link right here. We could send out if we wanted to, and you can see my page right here. Because I haven't edited these components, it is still showing as it did before, but this is our webinar right here that we've got. So we can have people registering. They click here and they're able to then register for our webinar if we wanted to. Or we can go back here and we can actually start the webinar. Now if we choose to start the webinar, and we can edit it as well, we're able to start the webinar through this system. Also, if we wanted to register people, it shows our registrations, it holds that data, we can see stats, and we can adjust our settings as we want as well. So let's go ahead and start the webinar. Now, one of the components of this webinar platform is that you need to be running this inside of Firefox in order to use it. Our plugin actually uses Firefox. So let me go ahead and open Firefox, and I'll show you how this live webinar platform will now run. Then we get taken to this panel right here. Basically, we can add our microphone, we can add our listen only, but we're going to be talking today, so we'll click on microphone. What it's going to do is it's going to make sure that we have our microphone selected. So I'm using a blue snowball mic, and then I just need to say, yep, share selected device. Basically, then everyone can now hear me. So if everyone is on the line, as people join, they'll be able to hear me. Yep, no problem, I heard it. Great. Now we're taken to this. Now we can either upload a presentation, we can talk and communicate to our people that are on the webinar here, and we can see all of the users up here to my left that are actually on the webinar. We can mute them. They'll all be automatically muted when they're on the call. We can unmute them if we wanted to. We can add other organizers if we want to as well. And we have a webcam option, so we can actually share our webcam as well by clicking this button here. I'm not going to do that now, but I will just to show you a quick test. So I can basically share my webcam and I can be on camera, as you can see right here. Here I am. And you're able to then run this webinar for your subscribers, for your customers, for your visitors, for new people, new leads and subscribers. So I'm going to cancel that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my whole screen. You've got the option then to share your whole screen and show people what it is that you're doing, just like a regular webinar you might have seen through GoToWebinar or another system out there. You'll be able to do the same now with this system. Share full screen. So as you can see, I'm now recording my screen, and you'll see down in this desktop sharing thing right here that this is now available. So there's a couple of things you need to install. It does it automatically. It tells you if it needs updating, and then you're ready to use this. So this will basically record my entire screen. I can have PowerPoint showing. I can be demonstrating things on the web. It'll work across all browsers at this point. I can go into Chrome and I can start using it there, and I can continue to engage people on my actual webinar, and they will start seeing my screen as you see right here. So really cool piece of software, really easy to use, and you'll be able to start running your own live webinars through Amazon hosting with this webinar platform from day number one. So I'm really excited about this. I'm excited for you for getting access to this, and go down below, get access if you want it. There's a limited amount of copies on this. We're only releasing about 200 of these to the market. So get in first, get access to this discounted price, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.